All right, hello everyone. Welcome. Dennis Lieber here on Jaguar Media for yet another live stream. And in today's video, we have a very exciting and fellow content creator who also discusses the red pill, some of the black pill, female nature, etc. He's one of the growing big time voices within the manosphere and the red pill community at large. His name is Tico Tren, and I want to thank him for his time and his efforts with regards to joining the show today, and for him definitely donating his time to come onto the show and to conduct the interview here on Jaguar Media. So before we start, I'm just going to share in Discord first and hopefully get people to come on board. And then I will invite him onto the panel. So just the usual on Jaguar Media, just a couple of announcements. All proceeds of donations are always appreciated. I don't like to heckle people for money. Donations are appreciated though. I have a couple of design ideas for the Teespring store. So if you are interested in Jaguar Media merch, please leave your feedback on the following designs within Discord, and I will take on board your suggestions before actually finishing the Jaguar Media merch store. So apparel on Jaguar Media will be made available in the future. Likewise, I'm trying to time this so that way I can balance paying off my debt with Lichen Theory, which has been discussed in the manosphere. That debt's been over halved now. So that's actually been pretty much cut in half with a little bit more and a bit more money paid off. I'm trying to time that with getting a crypto wallet, so that way people who wish to make purchases can have a crypto wallet option if they wish to purchase any goods or services with Jaguar Media anonymously. So that option has been definitely explored and looked into, and I myself am beginning to learn more about cryptocurrency as well. The other thing too is the Red Pill Mindset book that is still going on. These interviews or aspects of these interviews will be included in the Red Pill Mindset book. And this will be part of the philosophical explanation of the red pill in practice and a survey of different people within the manosphere, both male and female, both perspectives. And if you are interested in joining Jaguar Media for a red pilled interview or a red pilled journey interview, these shows take around 1 hour to 90 minutes in length. I am also happy to do written interviews where I give you the questions in advance via email or Discord. You can write down your answers. Do think about them very deeply because they are deep questions. They're very introspective questions. And definitely give me as much detailed feedback as you need to. You do not need to identify your name or where you work or whatever. I don't want to know that information. Pseudonyms are preferred, and pseudonyms will be used in the interview too. So I'm going to invite on my guest, and hopefully my sound quality is working nice and well. So I hope everyone's having a really good day. Hope everyone's having a really good day. Hope all is well. And I hope you all are having either a wonderful morning in the US or a really good night in Australia, down under. Right. So just waiting for the guest to come on. Future segments of the show will include history talks. I have thought about creating a history talks segment. I actually studied history and economics at university, and I've taught history at high school level before. I've also done a few peer review editing. I've done some peer review editing of papers as well, at university level as well, with history and politics. So those are things I can definitely add to the show if it will be interesting to you. I find that people tend to like the article reviews, and these interviews seem to be the most popular aspects of the show. So hopefully my guest is in. Got Tico Tren in the house. Hey there, Tico. How are you doing?
Pretty good, and you? Can you hear me?
You're coming in clear.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was about to say.
So, Tico, welcome to the Jaguar Media Show. I think this is our first live stream together on my channel.
Yes, it is. I'm usually busy when you send me links.
I know. And I'm usually in between errands when you're sending me links.
Yeah.
So, Tico, tell me a little bit about yourself. How long, because you're a content creator, how long have you been producing content for?
As a red pill or as a content creator?
As a red pillar.
As a red pillar, I've only been producing content for about a little over a year.
Okay. And
about 13, 14 months.
Okay, 13, 14 months. So that would be around
August.
I'm a bit slow today. About August, August last year-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. And what inspired you to begin creating red pilled content?
I felt as though at the time I can actually fill a niche. Coming from my perspective, if you know what I mean, because I have education in psychology, and I'm very good with bringing and meshing like American history along with red pill knowledge and the esoteric stuff side of it, if you know what I mean.
So by the esoteric, are you referring to, say, occult symbology, occult rituals, or do you mean the philosophical part of the esoteric?
The philosophical part of the esoteric for the most part, but I can do the occult stuff. But I mainly delve into like the philosophical part by like taking a concept from today and taking something from the past and merging them together and making good content out of it. And helping everybody to understand that this is like nothing new under the sun type thing. Yeah.
Okay. I see. And may I ask to you, in your words and in your opinion, what does the red pill mean to you?
To me, in my opinion, it means awareness. It means being over to see things from a broader or a bigger picture, like being able to step outside yourself and look at a situation, even if you're in the situation at the time, being able to step back and go, I see that. How can I traverse around that? Okay, then stepping back in yourself and traversing basically properly. Because my great grandmother, dad's side, is a Sintali woman. I kind of do have a lot of the Hindu teachings that come with it too, with the third eye and stuff like that.
To clarify, is this from the Vedic traditions, or is this like a Sikh tradition?
Hindu. I would say about Vedic-y.
Vedic, okay.
So it mainly delves in like just kind of like the Hindu aspect, but it also delves into the this Santal cultural aspects of it for the most part, because if you've ever actually listened to me, I actually got a bunch of different cultures that mesh that are meshed from both my mother's side and and my dad's side of the family, and it kind of sort of sometimes they conflict, but I try to make it work as humanly possible without disrespecting the other.
So basically, growing up, you pretty much got to see, I guess, Vedic traditions and non-Vedic traditions within the same households.
Yes,
from what I understand. Wow.
Yes.
And then
that's why I'm accepting. If you ever notice, that's why I'm very accepting of other religions, and I don't really put down too many other religions for the most part. I'm very like accepting because I grew up in a household where, like, my great grandmother was this, my great grandfather was this, my mom was this, my grandma was this, my grandfather was this, you know, the other grandfather was this, and it's like, whoa.
so that particular context has pretty much helped you to deal with how do I say it? Eclectic approaches towards like philosophy, subject matter, skepticism, etc. Wow. Yes. At such an early age too.
Yeah.
And then
it was kind of sort of forced on me because like my family is very, very steeped in culture, and they force it on me because they didn't want it to die with them, or like, you know, they didn't want it to die on their branch basically, or my dad's branch, because I've noticed like there's not too many relatives on my dad's branch that actually pushes the family history on, besides like a couple of my aunts that I always talk about that always pop up in the middle of my live stream in like a little bubble saying, "What you doing?"
Oh wow. So your family is aware of your contents. They sometimes view your content.
Yes.
How do they feel about your content as a red pillar?
Well, because my family is red pill. For the most part, we are 4 generations red pill. I'm the 4th generation of red pill for the most part, and my children will be the 5th generation of red pill. So all the children under me would be my 5th generation. So it was taught. It was taught to me at a very young age. You have to learn this. It's a part of this. In a lot of the red pill knowledge is steeped in like cultural aspects, like, you know, the family dynamics and how everything's set up, and, you know, stuff along the lines of that, and how things should be, how things are perceived, if you know what I mean. And my grandmother was.
May I ask? Sorry to interject there. May I ask what is your cultural background? Are you like a mixed race, or are you someone who's got like Caribbean genealogy?
I'm mixed race, but I do have a Caribbean genealogy, but also have a Latin genealogy.
Wow.
For the most part, like I was saying, my Santal grandmother, which was my dad's side's mother, she was from India. His father was actually was an Afro Latino from Colombia.
Right.
And my grandmother's side of the family is from Costa Rica, born and raised for the most part. My mom's side, you have Jamaicans, and you basically have Jamaicans. So it's that's pretty much what makes up the rest of the bunch. So like I have Indian teachings, I have Jamaican teachings, I have Latin teachings, all wrapped into one person.
So then how do you reconcile or balance those different philosophies, cultures, and traditions? Because that's like quite a lot of like cultural mixes or mixes of traditions.
True. I think a lot of it actually stems from the fact that they tend to merge. A lot of the cultures tend to have merged in Latin America and the Caribbeans because of the slave trade for the most part. Like a good example of that is Jamaicans wouldn't have Jamaican curry without Indians.
Right.
So a lot of the dishes that Jamaicans make is because of Indians, like the Jamaican curries, you know, stuff along the lines of that. Along with a lot of the Latin dishes are like, you know, it also has like infused it has Indian infused or like Arab infused or Jamaican infused or Caribbean infused in it also. So like
Right.
so I
Wow.
think how it works out is like more or less like how we cook for the most part. We're like you put the right amount of ingredients in so you can make sure everything meshes properly and it comes
Mhm.
out a good product, if you know what I mean.
Wow. Wow. So then, because it's such a mixed background with so many different traditions, then may I ask, like, what, especially with the Vedic traditions, what does the Vedic traditions, if you're to summarize it, what do they show you about the quote unquote red pill or about like existence? What's so distinct about the Vedic traditions compared to, say, your other traditions that you have?
Well, ironically, a lot of what I do in my daily routine and how I live my life actually falls from the Vedic traditions because
Hmm.
all of it pretty much because like the diet, the way to live, it's all in a lot of these books that we read, the Hindi books that we read. It's like your diet, how you live, your how you exercise, how you're supposed to go about it. Like if you ever notice, I always talk about the type of food I eat
Yeah.
is pretty plain and bland and is very healthy for the most part. And that the much as much as I exercise and how I go about my daily routine, how much sleep I get, how
Hmm.
much I'm willing to learn, how much I'll always wanting to educate myself, travel, everything fall comes from that Vedic tradition, if you know what I mean.
Wow.
So it's like very red pill in a way that you're living you're living based on how religious doctrine is for the most part. So like
Hmm.
most of my day to day routines is from the Vedic religion. I mean, I don't follow it on a religious side, but like
Hmm.
I do go through a lot of the rituals and steps and stuff like that to start my day for the most part, like the meditation, the martial arts, stuff like that, yoga, you name it. I basically go through those steps properly as is written out
Because I find
in the
like
text.
I don't know a lot about the Vedic traditions, like from what I can recall in my head. From what I understand, the Vedas in particular views different levels of dimension. So you have like the first dimension, the second dimension, the third dimension, all the way up to like say the 10th, I believe, from what I recall. And you have like up there in the 10th dimension, you have like the highest order of the pantheon, which is like Brahma and Vishnu.
Vishnu,
And then you
yeah.
have the destruction side of that, which is Kalima. And then in the lower dimensions below the fifth, you have like the evil entities or the evil beings, which that depth or that level of like pantheon's not really accounted for, say in like say the Christian religions, Judaism. And then the only thing that really comes close to that, although apparently it's different, is like Jewish Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism sort of touches on the same dimensions and the same aspects as the Vedas, but the
I would
Vedas.
say the closest religion out of all the major religions to that religion
Uh-huh.
would be the Muslim one. Would be the
Really?
possible would possibly be the closest because once you think about it, once you actually read the Quran, they got how you live, how you do this. I mean, as
Hmm.
far as like once you get rid of the other stuff, the higher stuff, once you get into the meat and crux of it, is basically how you live, how you should you treat your significant other, how the household should be ran, how you should pray is a good example of that. Which way you should be facing when you pray. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right.
So
Okay,
like
so all of
that
that
would be the
is
closest. That portion
right.
of it would be the closest to it, if you know what I mean.
Okay, okay. Wow, wow. I need to explore this a bit more to add more commentary to it. Um, my next question then is how, because there's red pill and there's black pill, which are terms that are often thrown around. How do you distinguish between the red pill and the black pill?
Um, the red pill stuff would be a lot of the stuff that I mainly do for the most part on my channel. Would be the majority of the stuff I do on my channel. I have been doing black pill stuff as of late with the videos I've been putting out on my secondary channel, what I refer to as race relations.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of black pill, like, that's where I was talking about meshing, history and helping people understand that this is nothing new. This is something that's been practiced, tried and true. And like, to understand it, you gotta, and I also put in there, to understand it better, instead of like standing back and watching it happen to one group of people, maybe you should step in and say, this happened before, where this happened, and then this group went down, and then all of a sudden something happened, and it started happening to us. Before it even gets to you, you should be able to step in and help that group out and go, okay, this is how we're going to do this next time if this comes up. That way we can avoid this whole entire thing, almost like the Me Too, how I would explain the Me Too and the feminist and like, the whole entire agenda with the Me Too, Save Her, and White Knighting, for the most part, was the one video I did where I actually explained that slaves were going through this at the time. And you helped them.
So that was like a historical parallel.
Yeah. It was a story. It was like a historical parallel. Plus, it was like black pill, because I noticed that those, when I did videos like that, it actually hit close to home for people, because people were telling me that actually hit me in the chest really hard and knocked the wind out of me. But I felt it, and I thank you for that video. Like, I wasn't expecting nobody to ever do a video like that.
I don't think anyone has within the manosphere.
No. Yeah, so like it's a type of video I tend to approach when I get, the best way I can describe my black pill is it meshes like both those worlds, plus it's very visceral.
Right.
And so it makes you feel something.
It'll borrow from like, say, history, politics, economics, more than one field, basically.
Yeah. And it's very visceral.
Like, you're really like pulling apart different layers of perception.
Yeah, and I'm just peeling it back like an onion, literally, just peeling it.
Assumptions, etc. So it's like, I guess, from what you're saying, the black pill is higher knowledge, or
higher knowledge, yes. It's higher knowledge. It's like taking, because I always said you should always learn from your past. You should always learn. You should always learn about yourself so you can better yourself. And you should always learn about the past, because if you forget about it, it always has this odd way of rearing its ugly head, like a hydra. You cut down one head, then it pops up as another head. You cut down that head, then it pops up as another head, if you know what I mean. So I've always said, so you can prevent that from happening, learn from it. That way you don't have to sit here and do all this work when it pops up again. That way you can just avoid it altogether.
Right. I guess I find with the black pill, and it's a very, very nuanced concept. It's not really easy.
Well, I do, and like I said, I do have the ones where like I start talking about like government and politics, and start going into the esoteric stuff like the Rothschilds and Hellfire Clubs and Skull and Crossbones, stuff like that. I do have that, but like I try not to do that too much on my channel, and I try to keep it. I keep the esoteric portion of it, and I take it so you can actually better yourself as a man or better yourself as a society, if you know what I mean. Because
so your intent is to get your audience to basically self-reflect,
and then also better, better themselves. Because nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Hell, my grandmother wasn't perfect. My great-grandmother wasn't perfect. But and we all know this. And we're always looking to always better ourselves. That's why we say, if you ever heard me talk, my favorite pastime is sleep. My second favorite pastime is travel. My third favorite pastime is learning stuff and learning different things, reading and stuff along the lines of that. And my fourth favorite pastime is training my body. Let it be martial arts. Let it be yoga. Let it be, putting the proper things and nutrients in my body so I can sustain myself. and stuff along the lines of that. And it's just that it's that drive that actually keeps me going for the most part.
I see. I want to ask you, do you consider yourself to be a MIG or do you lean more towards the red pill?
I've actually made a video about this because I said that because of how my life is set up and the way everything is right now and my comfortability, I don't really. I consider I have a lot. A lot of people refer to me in the manosphere as red pill MGTOW leaning.
Okay. So MGTOW leaning in which sense? Is this to do with the main tenets? No marriage, no cohabitation, arguably
I actually
no children.
Well, the children part, I always meant I did break that part, so that's pretty much out the window. But the no cohabitation and no marriage thing.
Father, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a father.
May I ask, how old are your kids, or kids?
Kids, the ones that I actually have in my custody, and because I also had one with a woman that lost her children at the same time when my wife Mina had died. Like she lost her child, and I lost my wife Mina at the time, and I lost my child and my unborn child in a car accident. A jackknife truck accident. So like we were working together, and she happened to confide in me and stuff like that, and she really wanted to have another child and this, that, and the other. And we actually had this conversation, and we eventually talked about it. And I say, that sounds like a good idea because I lost mine. Let me think about it. So eventually I thought about it, and I got back to her. I go, I think I'm ready to do this. So we had a child named Timothy. And all I was supposed to do was just basically help her have a child naturally.
Right.
He was born. He's alive. He's born healthy. He's a great kid. But my job was not supposed to be involved with him. Unfortunately, she kind of sort of changed the rules after a little while because I think she caught some feelings. But I didn't, and that was kind of the problem with that whole entire thing. So like a lot of people think, well, you just abandoned her. No, the original goal was help her have a child and go on about my merry way. That was it.
There was like a prior agreement which she did honor.
Okay, she did honor it. Yeah, but she honored it, but she was trying to get me to stick around longer. Well, it turned from when he's born, everything's okay and you can go your separate way. Okay, cool. Then it changed to, how women get. Then it changed to, can you stick around for what was it? So until he learns how to talk and walk. Okay, fine. Then it turned into, can you teach him how to potty train?
Wow.
Okay, so I did that, and he did the potty training thing, and I taught him how to potty train, and that was actually very quick. Because I'm very efficient when it comes to potty training due to cultural aspects. But like, yeah, literally. Because I remember when he learned how to potty train, we were actually in Florida, and we were in Lowry Park Zoo.
Right.
And I was running low on Pampers, and I'm like, Timmy, pimp, I hate to have to break this to you, but we're running low on Pampers, and you're going to have to let Daddy know when you have to go to the bathroom. Do you understand me? He goes, yes, Daddy, yes. I go, okay, so let me know when you got to go or you get that feeling. Okay, Daddy, I will. Right, so we're walking around. He eventually goes, Daddy. He like pulls on me. He goes, Daddy. He goes, I think I gotta go. So like I'm sitting there picking him up, running to the bathroom with him across Lowry Park Zoo, run him to the bathroom. He goes, what do I do? I go, just hold your pee and just pee into the thing and you'll be good. So he goes, so he does it. He goes, I did it. Yay. So he's like singing a potty song. Do the potty dance. That was like the song of the day back then. Do the potty dance. It was so funny and it's so cute. But like he eventually learned how to potty train that day on the fly because I always knew he was ready to do it, but like it was one of those things where like his mom was trying to keep him from doing it because she's seen it as him growing up too fast and him not needing her. So she was always trying to stunt his growth, and I was trying to make him flourish.
So I want to ask because like it's not often, at least within the manosphere that I am personally associated with, it's not often that like I actually get to talk to a red-pilled man who is a parent.
Yeah.
How then, being a parent, how does that add to how does that add to your masculine attributes? Or let me phrase that better. How does being a parent add to you as a man in terms of your attributes, you find? Because this is it's not something that like many MGTOW and red pillars talk about.
I have actually, because like I talked about Timmy there. Cool. That's a child that's not really in my care, and that's his mom's thing, and that's her bag, and she's never. I'm gonna start by saying she's never brought me to court for child support, and she's never done the whole entire, So I don't pay her child support. I don't pay her anything. She literally is raising that child by herself, like she had promised in the beginning. So that I can say. So moving on to the rest of my children, because I have 6.
You have 6.
Yeah, 6. Yeah, not including Timmy. I have 6.
Wow.
Not including Timmy.
That's not a family. That's like a clan.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. The two oldest ones are my twins. I always talk about them in various of my videos, and they're always argue with feminists in public, and it's like the funniest thing in the world to watch them two just literally argue with feminists off a ledge and make them feel small after it's done. And they're only like 15, 16 years old, and it's like, you just got beat by a 15-year-old. You just got told talk bad to by a 15, 16-year-old. Yeah, it's like, and it's the funniest thing, and they're the cutest things. And like, as a parent, those 2 girls make me proud to be a parent, because they're not your typical women. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do some tomboyish ship, but they still dress up like girls, and they still act like women, and they conduct themselves like ladies. I mean, they're still like tomboys for the most part when they're not out in public. So if they're not on the public, oh, you best believe they're just acting like a bunch of tomboys. It's just like it's like having 2 sons sitting next to you on the couch, like just acting a fool, watching sports and doing stuff like that. And like when they're out in public, they they act like ladies, and they dress like ladies, and they do the whole entire hair thing, and they conduct themselves like ladies. And I'm actually very proud of them for that, because they get that from their mother, and they look like their mother. So
I see. So I want to ask you then, would you say that, and some might argue this is like a bit of a gynocentric thing, because like kids are seen as that reproduction aspect of masculinity. Would you say that as a parent, that the notion of children and legacy adds to masculinity, or do you think it kind of detracts from masculinity? Because there's obviously MGTOWs that are very anti having children because of the system.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there's other MGTOWs that have like more of a tradcon leaning. Yeah, where they're very pro lineage.
Definitely. I believe it adds to your masculinity as a man, because you have to you learn more about yourself.
Right. Like,
and you learn.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you learn more about yourself, and you learn your capabilities. You learn your limitations. You learn you learn how to, when you make a mistake, you learn on the fly how to build off that mistake and make it your strength, or make it better next time, for just in case something comes up, if you know what I mean. On top of that, you just learn a lot about yourself as a man, for the most part, because to be honest with you, their mother actually passed away too, which really sucked. It really, really sucked. And that tore a big ass hole in my heart when that happened. But the problem with that though, is because I had these 2 girls, I could not stop to mourn the loss of their mother, because I had to worry about these 2 girls. So that within itself made it so I relied more on religion after that point.
Religion, though, in the spiritual sense, or religion in the traditional sense? Because like I find the term religion has got like many meanings and very negative connotations in this day and age.
I relied on religion in a spiritual, I guess you could say, sense, for the most part.
I see. I see.
I leaned on religion so I can actually keep myself strong. I leaned on culture so I can keep myself, so I can fortify my strength for the most part. So I pretty much dove back into culture at that point.
So that's culture, tradition, spirituality is basically like your reference guide for your principles as a man.
In history.
Yeah. History too. Okay, in history too. Now, there was a really good question that was being asked by one of the audience members. Usually, I don't read the comments or any questions from the audience until the very end. But this one was actually a really good one that was related to the conversation at hand. Yamcha asks, how much of the red pill and the black pill involves the outside world, and what portion of them are esoteric? That's a very good question.
All of it, for the most part. I would say all of it. Yeah, because once you think about it, once you're red pill, you view the world differently through a different set of lens. It's almost like if you were going through life with beer goggles for the most part. Everything looks like Halle Berry with beer goggles, literally. Or, you know, if you're a Hennessy drinker or a cognac drinker, everything looks like Halle Berry for the most part when you got alcohol goggles on. When you put on a red pill, when you actually go through red pill, when you go through the red pill stages and you go through the phase and you finish and you come out the other side, women don't seem to look like Halle Berry anymore. And you see the flaws in a Halle Berry or a Kim Kardashian or, you know, these people that are so famous that they think their shit don't stink. You actually see flaws in them. You see it's almost like you can actually stop, freeze the moment, and pick out all their imperfections and all their insecurities, and then speed up time and just basically tell them about themselves for the most part. Just walk away. Wow. So it's almost like to me having red pill knowledge and a black pill knowledge will be equivalent to like the movie Matrix.
Mm-hmm. Well,
where they get into a gunfight scene and bullets start flying, but then it slows down to, they call it bullet time motion.
Yeah.
That's basically how I view red pill, black pill knowledge.
And this how is like the shift of perception that lets you see the programming in that way. Is that the analogy? Yes. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So like you literally can see it and you can actually either dodge it or, you know, traverse your way around the stuff, if you know what I mean, or, you know.
Wow, I never actually thought of it that way. That's actually a really good explanation of that. I've never heard that explanation before. Usually people just cite the red pill, the blue pill, but dodging the programming.
Yeah, because that's mainly what I do for the most part. If you've ever noticed, that's my style, dodging shit. Or like, you know, ignoring shit or dodging shit. Like, I always believed in the quote from Bruce Lee, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much how I operate. So like anytime, good example, trolls. Okay, that's nice. I really don't care. Moving right along. That's pretty much my attitude because I'm very nonchalant when it comes to people like that. Either you want to learn something or you don't. If you don't, I really don't have any use for you. So bye.
Well, you need to be like that. You need to be like that.
And that's typically how I operate. And like I've had trolls actually mess with me, and I just ignored them, and they went their merry way. Disappointed because I didn't respond to them. Because I look at it like this: if you're not important and you're not one of my brothers, and you're not doing what you need to do, and you're not trying to learn something, there's no point in even having you around, and there's no point in even entertaining you.
Right.
That machismo thing from Latin culture kind of comes into it too, or the Jamaican, what they call it, Jamaican cockiness comes into it. So I basically use it as one of them things where it's like, you're beneath me, so go away.
I've never really been around many Latinos or people from the Caribbean myself, but I could say that I could see that. I could see that with the
Jamaicans have a lot more
that I've met from the.
Well, I wouldn't call it cockiness or arrogant. I would call it arrogance. It's more or less they have this. very high confidence within themselves. Jamaicans do, if you know what I mean. So it comes off as cockiness or arrogance for a lot of the time, and then like you have the Latin machismo-ness that a lot of men have. So like we have this machismo thing about it. So we're very, very proud of ourselves, and we're very, very proud culture. So it's like one of them things where like it's almost like if the visual equivalent to it would be like if you were just if you were like some big cock diesel guy walking around with his arms and he could barely put his arms down to the side and he's just walking around just strutting for the most part would be the equivalence to both those things. So it's like I'm walking around and I'm very, very muscular and I'm feeling myself for the most part.
Right. Right.
Good question, Yamcha.
That's a damn good question, Yamcha. Like, wow. That was better worded.
I think Yamcha was trying to stump me on that one. Yeah. Nice try, Yamcha. We'll talk about this later.
Follow-up video, follow-up stream, hit up
right?
Tico Tren, SYSBM, amongst the other channels. Now, by the way, both links are provided in the description already. I have your two main channels I have your two main channels in the links in the description as well. So if you guys do want to hit up Tico Tren's content, please like, share, and subscribe to those channels. He does have other channels that I will add to the description box a bit later.
I don't know which one he added, but check out the race relations one, the last two videos at least. Yeah. Last 2 or 3 videos. They're actually very eye-opening on how you can view the world, and because like I don't really pick on both sides. I pick on everybody for the most part. That's always been my approach for things. I don't pick on one person.
You got to pick.
I pick on everybody, so everybody can get it for the most part. Or the favorite terms, anybody can get it. Like,
I just want to give a quick shout out to Gorilla Ghost. Gorilla Ghost is another content creator. He is a smaller channel, but he produces awesome content. Like I've saved all of Gorilla Ghost's videos up to date so far, and he just has awesome content. And
I'm actually subbed to him.
He's not someone who will try to deceive you. I'll put it that way. He's not the type.
I've actually subbed to Gorilla Ghost.
Nice. Gorilla Ghost, what I've done, I know that I've taken down the other videos of like the mirrored videos from the MGTOWs on this channel. I'm trying to keep MGTOW exclusively separate from Jaguar Media, because Jaguar Media is like the big show that discusses all the other issues. There is a MGTOW Menace channel, which is my MGTOW only one, and I will put your videos up there in the coming days. He did say that he has a platform called www.MGTOW.tv. So gentlemen, definitely check that out. MGTOW TV is available. Okay, so we talked about the red pill, the black pill, some of your background. May I ask, what are some of the defining moments in your life that made you a red-pilled man?
My grandparents. My grandparents, because they raised me from birth till now. They raised me from birth, well, pretty much since I was delivered till now, for the most part. So I've lived with them all my life. They've been my beacon of hope, and they've been pretty much been my strength. Because I've actually told this to a couple people. Basically, what had happened with that whole entire situation is my mother. She dropped me off at my grandparents' house, dad's side, and told him she'll be back. She never came back.
Damn.
So, and the sad part about it is I never really forged a relationship with her. So I don't really I really don't have that relationship with her for the most part, but I do care enough about her if something happens. But I've never had that full relationship with her, like mother-son relationship, if you know what I mean. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if this happens to her, it is what it is for the most part. But yeah, I'm always willing to help, but she's just not my top priority, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so like I was raised by my grandparents. Like I said, they're pretty much what they were pretty much raised red pill, and they raised everybody else red pill for the most part. So it's like one of them things where it's like it was from top down red pill knowledge from day one when you were born. As soon as you can learn how to walk and talk, you were getting red pill knowledge.
Damn. So then that begs another question that I have. Having grown up as a red-pilled man, how do you find, or how did you cope with being so different from your average contemporaries, or the so-called the blue pillars or the normies? How did you deal with that growing up?
The best way I can describe that to you is like at one point I was actually going by the name Internal Sadist.
Right. That's one of your. That's one of your other channels. I didn't include that one.
Well, no, I actually changed it. I changed them both to Tico Tren. I changed them both to Tico Tren now, but like I went by the name Internal Sadist. There was a reasoning for that because it basically was where like I pretty much went inward to myself and basically started like pushing out all the stuff that I learned in my life and was like just basically going from there. Every single thing that I could possibly learn that I could benefit, that I was in a situation I was in a certain situation where I basically called on all the knowledge and everything that I've learned in my life to basically deal with it. The sadist part, the internal one, that's what the internal is basically reaching down and finding all the stuff within your body, within your soul that you've learned and being able to utilize it for the most part. The sadist part comes from, obviously, I'm a bit of a sadist when it comes to people's pain. It's kind of like the oven analogy. You know the oven's hot, so why touch it? If you touch it, you know not to touch it. But if you touch it and you know it's hot and you burn yourself, I'm going to laugh at you. I am going to laugh at you, and I'm going to enjoy it. Right. Especially if you know. It's kind of like my one favorite saying. If I know you're wrong, and I know you're wrong, we got problems. So that's where that comes from.
Jeez. Okay. So you were basically calling things out back then, and you.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. People used to hate me. Even the nuns. The nuns used to hate me.
Yeah, fearless attitude all along. That's a long-term asset though.
A good one for that is when I was in school, I went to a Catholic school. Okay, cool. You know, if anybody knows anything about Catholic school and left-handed people, you pretty much know where this is going. So I'm left-handed. So I used to write on the board left-handed. So the nun would literally smack my hand and tell me, "You can't write like that. That's wrong, and that's the devil, and this, that, and the other, so on and forth on the fourth line." So I turned to her and said, well, because we had a blackboard, if any of y'all know what that is. I don't know if I'm kind of dating myself, but I used to write on the blackboard, and I used to write my left hand. And I go to her, I turned around and looked at her, I go, well, I look at it like this, ma'am. If I'm writing on my left hand, you can actually see what I'm writing on the board as I'm going across the board, versus if I write my right hand, I'm covering the board, and you have to read it one word at a time. And she just looked at me, and she sent me to the principal's office. And the kids were like, he's got a point there.
So Tico, I want to ask you, did you ever go through Red Pill Rage? Because your experience is very, very different from a lot of the other MGTOWs, Red Pillars, Black Pillars. Did you ever experience any form of Red Pill Rage growing up?
No.
Having that knowledge earlier?
No, I never experienced Red Pill Rage. I have, when Mina died and Deshari died, I did experience Black Pill Rage.
With grief? Is this with regards to grief? That's with the grief, yeah. Notions of mortality.
I don't. Well, I've always been one of them people that, like, you know, I don't really think too much about life and death for the most part. Mm-hmm. I view life as being on punishment, if you will, and I view death as a graduation to the next life, if you know what I mean.
Because like that is a very Vedic belief. Like I see because they always have the archetypes. You have Vishnu, the face of the creator, Kali Ma, the bringer of death, and the sower of new life. Then you have Brahma as well, the head of it all. And I find that not many people, at least in Western countries, really understand that level of complexity within not just the pantheon in the literal sense, but even like within existence as a whole. People don't understand those archetypes without being shown the Vedic traditions, at least.
Yeah, because I've always seen people when I came to America, I've always seen people who try to hold on to people as being selfish, if you know what I mean. Like the person on life support,
via the attachment sense,
yeah,
or is
yeah,
this
like I
attachment
found them very
to the
selfish.
material, or is this to do with attachment towards like the personal?
All the above, because once you think about it, like the people who have this attachment all of a sudden have this attachment because like they could treat them people like crap. Their whole entire life. The minute that their mortality is in question, all of a sudden they want to prolong their lives and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. It's like you went from this to what?
Right.
So I've always found it as
like the absence is just cut short. It's just like that.
Yeah, it's like I always found that as being selfish.
Right.
Very, very selfish. So like if the person's a vegetable and we know that the person's going to be a vegetable like at least 90 to 100%, let them go. If there's a chance that they can live, then we could talk about this. But if the chance of them living, and it is them being a vegetable, and you keeping them on life support is the reason why they're living, it's time to let them go.
Right. We have a comment from Yamcha. He is pretty interested in this. He says, fascinating. The nuances of emotion in the pill interpretation. I'm guessing he means the nuances of emotion in the pill interpretations interest him. In the blue pill, there is but pleasure, anger, depression, although I would argue that there's also a red pill depression too.
Yeah, there is a red pill depression, and there's also a red pill anger and rage too.
And there's also a red pill malaise that Sunrise Hoodie termed that. He coined that term, but I think TFM touched on that process.
I always viewed the red pill, to be honest with you, from my perspective, even though I didn't have to go through any of those, almost like what's it called? The death one, what they call it for death?
Grief. Grief. Or loss? Which part? The grief part?
All of it. Like when you go through that whole entire phase. There's the acceptance. There's the
denial.
There's bargaining. There's
bargaining, acceptance.
What is the name of that whole entire thing? I forget the name of it. It just slipped my mind. I was about to say what it was.
The grief cycle. That's the grief cycle.
Death. Something death. Coping with death. No.
The grief coping cycle.
Yeah, it's like whatever it is. Somebody will probably come up with the name of it, but like that's how I always viewed it for the most part.
So like
red pill rage. When you go through that, that's pretty much how I view red pill rage or the red pill stages. Because I've always said that even when you go through the rage, there's those initial stages, and then eventually get to the end.
I see as the process of unlearning. That's why it's so painful and frustrating.
Yeah. So like that's where the bargaining and like denial comes in at. Like I can't believe this happened. Why did this happen to me? What's going on with this? Why? Then you start praying to God. If you get her to come back to me, God, I would be so happy. And this, that, and the other. Like you start bargaining and shit. So like after the breakup and stuff like that, after you got your heart ripped out of your chest, that's what you start going through. That's how I see it. Grieving process, I guess, was they refer to it. That's what I'll call it now. That's literally how I view the red pill rage. So once you come out of the red pill rage, there's still the chance that you can backslide. But there's that.
Yeah.
It's almost like being in. Once you come out of the red pill rage, I see it as being in limbo. The stage right after you go through all that craziness, all the
but it is also
the grief. You get to the limbo part. The limbo
less
part, you can still fall
intense.
back.
You can fall back. I think people do fall back.
Yeah, even in the limbo phase. So I believe once you get past the limbo phase I refer to it as your planning, your goals. What do you plan to do once you got out of the rage? Now, you can make these plans and move on, or you can not make no plans and be comfortable and fall back.
But also at the same time, there's that constant, and a lot of people overlook this. I think Thinking Ape is one of the only ones to consider the role of biology in this. I think there is a threshold where you can be red pilled, but there's also a threshold where you can't be red pilled, and that's to do with the biological plantation, which is like your literal physical body, and then that, in the philosophical sense, is still black pill territory, because that's taking into account factors that you cannot control, like biology, instinct, epigenetics, and a whole plethora of like scientific data, which is a real black pill nuance to try to explain something that you can't necessarily scientifically measure.
True. I do believe in that biological side, but like not everybody's going to. I'm going to be honest with you. Not everybody's going to beat that biological side. That's why we have purple pillars. That's why we have pump and dumpers. That's why we have people who can't quite leave certain things alone, like trolling. That's why you have these things and these behaviors, basically, for that reason. I don't mean, I'm not trying to roast anybody. I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but like that's literally what that is. Yeah. Like that's why we have them stages of purple pill for the most part, for that reason. So that's what I believe. That's what I believe that whole entire, when Thinking Ape said that, that's what I believe that section of people are. They're like purple pillars, or people that just can't leave well enough alone and they have to go back in because they're pride. So that's pretty much what I refer to as like the biological aspect of that. Purple pillars.
Yeah.
Because it's not a knock against purple pillars. I love you guys dearly.
I have done, well, not all men will have the fortitude to be monk either. And that's just realistic. That's
very realistic. I actually was monk for a good period of time. I always joke about that before the Tijuana kidnapping incident, where I got kidnapped and thrown in the trunk by an ex. I was actually black. I was actually not black. I mean, I was actually a monk for the longest time. That's between when my daughter's mother died till that incident. I was literally a monk for that longest time. So I had nobody in my life.
Damn. And that's also when you were alone. That's like...
Well, I wasn't alone. I had my daughters, but...
Well, you had your daughters, but I mean, like, someone at your mental and spiritual level going through that experience.
Yeah, true.
When you're alone, that's like your crucible. It's like your shredding of even your identity of who you are in that present moment to go through even deeper... I won't call it an initiation because that's too ritualistic and occultic. It's like awakening, deeper red pill awakenings. It's like a constant shedding and growing, shedding and growing, shedding and growing. It is a very painful process, even if you have the knowledge already.
Yeah, it definitely is. Because like I've always been the type of person that I don't care how much you know, there's always more to know.
And I don't think anyone can ever know it all, even if you're the elites or the people at the top.
Yeah,
you will never know it. Because I also think too that, like, with the levels of awareness going into black pill territory here now, that's why they call it 33-degree masonry. Is that when you're at the top, you only have 33 degrees of awareness, but you do not have the other. The 327 degrees or so.
And this is where the Vedic tradition comes into play.
Yep.
because no matter what the situation I'm in, no matter how vague or how bleak or how vague or how this whatever the environment is around me is doing or what it's doing or how it's going or how it's ever changing around me, I've always had the gift of foresight to always see. I have a 360 view no matter what. Even if I'm in the smack dab in the middle of like something tragic, I've always had the 360 view to actually notice my surroundings and understand my surroundings. Even if I'm not it's to the point now, I don't even have to be in the same room as a person. Like I could be talking to somebody online or over the phone or, corresponding with an email, and I have this 360 view to know what I'm in or know what I understand the person that on the other side, if you know what I mean.
Well,
no matter what the situation is, because of the Vedic traditions.
We are beings of, as Einstein put it, and as who's the other one? Nikola Tesla, big time Nikola Tesla. Put it, we are beings of like vibration, matter, and frequency, and to understand the universe, it's just a matter of understanding geometry, frequency, energy, and vibration, harmonics.
Yeah, definitely. Because like the best way I can actually describe it to you is like, even if I'm sitting across from somebody, or if I'm looking at somebody via a computer or talking to somebody, the way I see it and the way people see it is two totally different things. Like I see almost like it's almost like a resonating, a soul resonating, if you know what I mean. Like if you just took you took a soul and put it in a ball and watch it resonate while you're speaking. Almost like how when we talk on our lovely screen right now and you see the little vibration go, like how it is, that's literally how I see people that I'm around or that I'm talking to for the most part.
Wow. That's a next level business. That's a next level stuff, man. Wow.
And based on their mood, the color changes from like a white to a yellow to a red, almost like a mood ring type thing. It's like they have this aura around them, if I could say that. Like it has a negative aura or a sad aura or a happy aura or an in-between aura, if you know what I mean. That's literally how I see human beings.
Oh, I guess we're getting into more esoteric territory. But I mean, okay, I do have a question. Like, because I know you're from like a largely Vedic background. There are red pills and also black pills too, where they talk about, say, like the Book of Enoch, the Great Falling Away. There's the line of Cain, the line of Adam, and also like the line of Seth being like the line of Jesus, supposedly. Although people can't exactly empirically verify that with science yet. And I don't think that's revealed yet, so that won't be revealed yet. Do you think it is? Actually,
I think it is, but I don't think we've paid enough attention to it. I think we're like, it's kind of like if you're looking for something and you're sitting there looking for it frantically and you can't find it, then you sit down and think to yourself, where can you possibly put it? Do you go back to look for it again? Because you're not looking for it frantically, you find it right away, and you found out it was right there in front of you. That's how I kind of sort of see that. If you know what I mean.
Do you ever think of like blue pillars as people who are possibly mixed with the line of Cain, or are we all descendants of Cain? Do you think that very few of us are actually on a fundamental genetic level part of the line of Adam and Seth and Methuselah and Enoch, basically the pure bloodline?
I think it varies depending on the person. I think, to be honest with you, I believe that because of obviously my history and the intermixing that went into me, I believe that a lot of those lines are intermixed. So we're looking at people that's mixed with the Enoch, the Adams, the Seths, the I believe that they're intermixed for the most part. So I believe that it's almost like if you're genetically weak for the most part, like your strengths, you can't really play on your strengths because your strengths, you're in the wrong area to play on your strengths. So it'd be like a black person in a desert.
So
A black person
basically,
is going to survive a desert better because of his skin and the fact that the melanin in the skin always regenerates moisture and regenerates the skin, and it also works to pull moisture from your skin to your body so you can last a little bit longer in the desert. On top of that, you get a nice coat of ash on your skin to protect you from the sun on top of that.
So like how do I explain it? Like this realm, this dimension, this 3D or 4D dimension, because of like space-time, length, breadth, width, like 4D existence.
Yeah.
Is a lower plane of existence in which like spiritual people are just not compatible with it.
Yeah, definitely. Because like I've always seen things differently, and like another good example of that is when I actually made the video about being colorblind. A lot of people thought I was actually joking. I have this odd, like very rare and odd color blindness, if you know what I mean. It's
Right.
where it's not like your blue greens and stuff like that. It's literally like certain colors lighter than taupe, depending on the lighting behind it. If it's like bright outside, it all blends together for me. So
Wow.
everything literally looks like the wall. It almost looks like good example that the Predator when he's in his invisible cloak, but you actually see him moving.
Yeah.
That's literally how everything lighter than taupe looks to me.
Do you believe that you see what, or at least in the Christian traditions, that you actually have the ability to see through the veil, like into, say, the supernatural, the spiritual, things not provable by current science?
Because I do have a nice science background, I believe I can actually. I believe that I can actually see through a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm talking to somebody and if I can determine if they're lying to me or telling the truth and stuff like that, I can see through that veil of lies or see through the veil of truth to see if it's something that's they're trying to tell the truth because they're trying to save themselves, or they're trying to tell the truth, or if it's if it's partial truth, so they can actually make me believe something, if you know what I mean, or like
a deception or a red herring.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you then, as a red-pilled man and as a scientifically minded person, because you are a very logical person.
Mm-hmm.
How like, is it even a rational process to understand intent so quick as a human being that it's almost instinctual?
I would say it's definitely second nature because you kind of figure I grew up in Costa Rica and I grew up with I've always told people I went to a Bree camp, and that's native. That's pretty much that'd be the equivalent to the Native Americans of the United States. So like they're literally like native people to Costa Rica. So like we do things like learning to hunt, learning to fish, learning to do that stuff, and pretty much learning all this stuff for survival on the very base level, not base level. What's the word I'm looking for? Crude level, like crude fishing poles, crude spares, crude stuff. Basically for survival for the most part. So all this stuff is like second nature to me when it's almost like a good example of that is like I was actually at a train station, and because I'm so used to being in the woods and feeling for vibration, I can actually tell when a train is approaching or a trolley or a something of that magnitude is approaching because it resonates under my feet. And if you ever notice, I wear a lot of flat shoes. I don't know if you ever seen it, but I wear a lot of flat shoes for that reason, so I can feel vibrations. It'd be like if you ever seen the Last Airbender, Toph from the Last Airbender.
The cartoon
Yeah,
or the movie, like
the
the
cartoon.
live action
Toph's
one.
ability to actually feel vibrations and react
I
properly
think is
accordingly.
this when he was training in the mountains?
Toph. I'm talking about Toph, the little girl.
Toth.
Toph. She's the blind girl.
Her. I saw bits and pieces of the series. I didn't see all of the series, but I did
Yeah,
see
like
bits and
Toph is the she's the Earthbender girl. But like she used because she was blind, she basically used vibration. Her feet, because she was always barefoot, so she used vibration to figure out where her opponent was.
Mhm.
Her only weakness was if her opponent was airborne and they pretty much didn't step on the ground.
Right. Wow.
But for the most, yeah, that's
Because
go ahead.
there are experiments that do back up what you're saying. There's a really good one actually of a guy who has like a violin. Like a violin. I don't know what the violin chord or the string is. And he plays that against a table with a bunch of grains. And when he plays it, the grains automatically move into different patterns according to different
Yeah,
frequencies. It's
I forget
insane.
I forget that string. I forget that string, the chord. But I know you can do it on a cello.
Yeah, it was the cello. It was the cello string.
No, he did it. He did it with the violin. But I know you can do it with a
Yeah.
cello and a couple other instruments to do that for the most part. But yeah, I understand what you're talking about. But
Actually,
yeah, it's
I'll try and show it. I'll try
yeah,
and
but
show it, or one of
it's
them.
I don't know. It's kind of weird because how I approach life is I'm a very logical person, cool, but how I actually process things is street
Not
smarts.
logical.
Like a good
Does
example that I'll process it through street smarts first. If street smarts can't really process it, then I use common sense. If common sense can't process it, then I'll use logic. If logic can't process it, then I'll use science.
I see. I see. Speaking of science, I do want to go back to vibrations, energy, and frequency here. This is a Nikola Tesla quote on this video. There are multiple videos of this experiment. This is just one of them. He quote unquote here: "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Now, this is kind of related to what Tico was talking about. So here in the experiment, you'll see a frequency, an EMF device or a frequency device.
Yeah.
And then you have a table of basically grains of rice, what looks like grains of rice. Now, watch the way the grains of rice behave according to the frequencies. This is pretty crazy stuff. Legit. This experiment's been done multiple times.
Yeah.
So actually I'm going to mute it because of the music's sake. Let's look at other things. So different hertz, look at this, different interactions with matter. Like it's like vibrational frequency dictates matter, not matter dictating vibrational frequency, which I would see as a form of lesser magic or
Yeah.
sorcery.
Sorcery.
It's the inversion of natural law,
Sorcery.
basically.
Or as a nun said, it's the devil.
Christians will see it that way, but in terms of like what sorcery is in the pagan sense, it's like imposing your will onto nature as opposed to letting natural law resonate with your will for harmony within the universe.
Speaking of religion and Christian faith, I've actually was raised more so as far as like religious based stuff. I was actually raised as a devout Catholic, hence the Catholic school. But like
Yeah.
we still pretty much practice the Vedic traditions within the household for the most part, along with various languages and stuff like that we had to learn also.
Wow.
Yeah, English wasn't one of the languages I learned first. I learned that in middle school in
Right.
Costa Rica.
Right.
But the main languages that was spoken in my house were Sintali, Bribri, Spanish, Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, that is, Patois, some Hindi, and there's one other one. Oh God. Oh, Baca de Toro Creole, and what's the name of that? Anakin language from the Maroon language for the most part, Jamaican Maroon language.
Right. Oh, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the
it's part of the Akin language tree. It's an African language for the most part. It's they refer to the Akin language tree, but there's another name for it.
I'm not familiar with those languages.
Yeah, it's fine.
So you can speak like what, 6, 7 languages?
By the time I was like 7, yeah. I speak more now, but
wow. So you are a polyglot. So then I want to ask you then, as a polyglot, because you're like quite well balanced in many fields. Wow. As a polyglot, how then would you say that affects your journey as a red-pilled man? Because surely language is a big part of perception as well.
Mm-hmm.
How then does being a polyglot help you to see things either in a clearer lens or to see things in a deeper lens?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The best way I could describe that to you is it teaches you to have more empathy for other people, because the best example is if I'm out in public and somebody was to speak to me in English, okay, they're speaking to me in English. It's just a mundane conversation. However, if you were to see me in public and you were to speak Spanish to me, I'm more likely to gravitate towards the Spanish speaker, because I feel comfortable and I feel at home and I feel at peace and I feel safe with a Spanish speaker, if you know what I mean. So it teaches you to be very empathetic of other people and their cultures in a way where, like, because like, honestly, if you work in a medical field and somebody's sick and they come in and they speak very little English, but they speak a lot of another language, if you can actually speak to them in their language, it makes them feel more comfortable, it makes them feel more safe, and it makes them feel more secure, and it makes their chances of getting better a lot higher, because now they feel comfortable with you because you took the time to actually learn something about them or speak to them in a comfortable language or in a comforting manner that make them feel safe and secure, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that when I'm actually hospitalized, when they actually look at my name on the chart and they look at me and it's like, oh wow. So like, I'll eventually get like I've been hospitalized a couple times where like I'll get like a couple nurses and they're talking to me and I was like, I don't even like this nurse. I don't like this nurse. I don't like this nurse. Then I'll get a Latina nurse and it's like, oh shit. Now that's what I'm talking about. Like they'll speak to me in Spanish and everything. And it's like, okay, I feel better now. I feel like I can get better and I feel like I can walk out of this hospital today type thing, if you know what I mean. So it makes a person feel better, and it makes a person feel like 10 times better when you can actually comfort them in their language or in their native tongue for the most part.
So would you say that, because like, again, people haven't really studied this empirically in the scientific method. Would you say that it does build empathy and it potentially raises vibrational frequency, or what like spiritual people term as vibrational frequency?
Yeah.
Just knowing so many languages.
Yeah, definitely, because actually, it gives you the ability to connect with somebody on another level, if you know what I mean. So like we're speaking English now all day, and like we're connecting now, but like
we're speaking a form of what bastardized Greek, Latin, Italian, part German, part French as well. Basically, the love child of Europe's orgy of languages.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, because the English in America is different from the English in Great Britain. I'm just keeping it 100.
That's true.
I'm just keeping it 100 because the English in America is like basically an eclectic like your Germans, your Arabs,
Yes.
your Hindi words, your French words, your Italian words, all that wrapped into one under one roof is literally the English language in the United States.
Right. Right. Whereas I find the United States version of English borrows a little bit more from French, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it borrows from French, it borrows from French words, it borrows from Arabic words, it borrows from some German words, and it borrows from it borrows a lot from a lot of different. You also got to take this into America. Basically, was founded on immigrants, so it borrowed from all that stuff.
So then, being someone who is very well accomplished, obviously you're very well accomplished.
I still got a lot more to do and go.
Too. He's trying to say that Yamcha said something up further back. Oh yeah, how do you control your emotions as a red-pilled man, or even as a black-pilled man? How do you begin to control your emotions? How do you master them?
My emotions are controlled because it's a cultural thing in me, if you know what I mean. It's like a cultural mechanism or a cultural trigger or a cultural aspect. It's like going back to the hanging around the Bree culture. If you ever notice with native cultures, they tend to be very stoic.
Yes. And
even if you ever seen a lot of my videos are done from a stoic tone or a stoic point of. I mean, you have a stoic look on my face for the most part.
I've noticed that you're very.
And that's typically, and that's typically how I operate for the most part. So it's like emotion doesn't really, for the most part, emotion really doesn't come natural. Well, it comes naturally, but it doesn't come as natural as like a you or a Yamcha or people in the chat, if you know what I mean. It literally is one of them things where it's like, do I need this right now? No. Okay.
So do I need this right now? No. I often have this theory that like vibrations are a form of emotion, or emotion is expressed through vibrations, and the actual word itself means energy in motion.
Yeah, definitely.
Motion, energy in motion. And I never really like thought about that until recently.
Yeah.
And there's actually a very interesting study done by the CIA done in around 1983, where they've actually found out that the human brain is connected to the frequency of the Earth. I don't know how they studied this, but they did. It's like an 80-page document. The human brain...
Trust me, they have their ways.
The human brain has the same frequency as the Earth, and then the other thing that they found is that human brain waves can emit electromagnetic frequencies, and those electromagnetic frequencies in the environment affect the human brain as well. It's a very interesting study, and it is in one of my videos on Esoteric Talks number 3. I do talk about that.
Yeah, the best way to describe that is another one that pulls that together is the same melanin in black people's skin is the same melanin that you can find in space.
Wow. No way.
to pretty much wrap that up and to make it like to help you understand it a little bit better. The same melanin in black people's skin or melanated people's skin is the same melanin that you found out in space.
Wow.
That helped create space.
And that's a scientifically observed fact. Wow. See, and here's the thing with the red pill and the black pill is like you reach a threshold, then you realize there's only so much that you do know and there's so much more that you don't know, to the point where it is beyond logic. How do you reconcile that lack of logic with the incomplete construct of the world or the universe even? Because that's like bordering online, like that's like bordering to like the levels that like the elites are at or the monks are at.
Yeah, the best way I could toss that to you is the government, when Barack Obama was in office, the world governments basically did pulled together some money and they invested in melanin. Apparently melanin per ounce costs more than diamond.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
So they did studies on melanin. All the world governments got together and they did studies on melanin alone. They dropped all this freaking money, exorbitant amounts of money, on studying this melanin. So the funny thing about that is, so if you were to kill me and were to able to extract the melanin out of my skin, you'd be rich right now. You'd be filthy rich. If you can figure out how to extract the melanin out of my skin, that is. I think the government is working on that or kind of figured that out. But if you can figure that out, you'd be a rich man right now because the governments will probably pay you.
Do you think that's possibly connected to the high abortion rates of black babies and even the slave trade before that? Was that it was a systematic attack on not just melanin, but like this systematic attack on all of the races? Because like a lot of people bring up this Kalergi plan from 1924.
Yeah, I believe that it was.
It is a legit document too.
I believe it was a mixture of a bunch of different things because you kind of figure the black abortion rate is. I've see that it's a part of the whole entire slave trade because during this whole entire slave trade, black people were taught that they're less than, and they're nothing. They mean nothing. They would amount to nothing. They will be nothing. And if you keep telling a group of people this for a very, very long time, they believe this. Hell, we've got studies where we've done that to people in hours. So imagine telling people this for years, decades, centuries.
I can imagine this is an epigenetic thing too. That a lot of this programming is intended to force genetic and epigenetic changes that's internalized.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of so precise.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because you got to study this stuff to figure it out. You got to run through some test studies and some subjects to basically get to where you are now. So I believe that this was something that was practiced and perfected over the many years, if you know what I mean.
Yes, over a millennia, definitely.
Because if you ever notice, like black people, well, along with Latinos, because they tend to have a lot of, well, they're not really a race. They're more or less a culture with a bunch of races within it. And that's just facts. And if you're a Latino, you need to be slapped in the face for thinking it's a race. Because it's not. Because I look at it like this. You have Latin Asians, you have Latin blacks, you have Latin mulattoes, you have Latin, there's pretty much a mixture of Latin people. You have Latin Indians, you have Latin Arabs, you have Latin everything. So you even have Latin white people. So yeah, it's basically a culture that encompasses a bunch of races. So the neat thing about that, I can pretty much tie it to the black culture, is both these cultures have this thing, well, even the Indian culture too, now that I think about it, have this thing where they self-hate. So I think a lot of the abortions come from self-hate.
Right.
So like, it's one of them things where like, I ain't gonna be nothing, so I might as well get this child ain't gonna be nothing, so I might as well get this abortion type thing because you think very low of yourself. It's kind of like I've always I mentioned a couple times in my videos, they had like a doll test in the United States. They also had it in the Caribbeans, in the Latin world too, where they did these doll tests. Matter of fact, they still do these doll tests till this day in the Latin world. Which doll's the best doll, the white doll or the black doll? They literally do this to kids, and like you obviously pick based on how society views this group of people. You view the black people as less than and nothing and criminals and this, that, and the other. You view the white people as helpers and this, that, and the other. But the neat thing about that is, culturally, when you grow up in like a bravery culture, or you grew up in a culture where like that was so close to like slavery and like the shipments and like stuff like that, they tend to view it a bit differently when it comes to white people. Like they go, yeah, I'm not saying we don't trust you, I'm just saying we got our eye on you. We're gonna go with these black people over here though. And like that's literally how like the black slaves and the natives pretty much survive eradication for the most part. They would do interbreeding and interrace mixing for the most part to survive.
But it wasn't that like part of the social engineering of back then? Because like, from what I see with the slave trade, that at least in the modern era and the pre-modern era, before the nation state was fully developed and perfected.
Yeah.
That
Well,
this
yeah,
was a
you're
form of a
right.
race mixing experiment to test the
Oh yeah,
concept of the
definitely. They
effect.
did that with natives, blacks, and Indians.
Mainly,
Native,
yes.
I mean Indians. I mean Indians, as in Indians from India, and they did it with Native Americans because that's what we refer to them as Native Americans. And they did intermixing with them because they wanted to make them all one race. It's kind of like what I talked about in the one live stream where I said they took some black men and some black women from Africa. They traveled around to India. They dropped off the black women, put on the boat Indian women, and they went over to Americas. They took some Indian women, some Native Americans, and they pretty much mixed them in, and then put them in a ship and came back and dropped them off in India and Africa. So like this was a constant mixing of Indians, natives, and Africans that they were trying
Back
to do. They were trying to
then.
make them one race.
Right, right. And then because like in Australia, there's a similar example. They used to have
Aborigines.
these Aborigines, but what they did, and this was before the concentration camps, like I'm talking as far back as the 20s and even before that. That there was the so-called frontier wars where the British settled. There was like a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of like shootings here, an occasional shooting here, lynchings there, in response to the indigenous like taking the sheep and the property of the settlers. But what they did was the government used that as an excuse to actually separate the men from the women, send them out into the middle of the country under these Christian reserves, evangelize them, destroy their shamanic traditions, and then force interbreeding in around the 40s and the 50s through the Assimilation Act.
Yeah.
And this was very similar to things done also in like Nazi Germany. So I see Australia as like the prototype for that. And
Definitely.
similar things were also done in Cambodia too. So that pattern to me is no coincidence.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. Like I said, it's been practiced, it's been tried, it's been tested, so they do it again.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just history repeating itself.
So when I look at all of that, and you look at it from that historical perspective and that higher level of power of knowledge, it then makes you beg the question: where is the red pill going in our particular time period in history? Because we are on the verge of that fourth industrial revolution, the age of automation, blockchain technology, decentralized banking, decentralized work, the matriarchy.
Yeah, I think
where do you see the importance of the red pill, the black pill, or truth as a whole in the post-industrial age to come?
I see the red pill and the black pillars as kind of like how the religions that got taken over by another religion where they had to take it underground. I see them doing that in the future. Sadly.
So we will be like the Christian Gnostics from the times of the Roman Empire, basically.
Yeah, basically. That's how I see it happening in the future after the fourth industrialization, and after all this stuff pretty much falls. I see them as the beacon of hope for rebuilding. I don't really see them as the people that'll be out there fighting per se. I see them as the people who are going to be the smart people who gather a group of people to be the fighters, if you know what I mean. To train them properly, to do everything that they need to do. They put them into the proper bring them up to the proper speed that they need to be to actually carry out various things. So it would almost be like equivalent to like I see it being something equivalent to like I guess you call it the Knights Templars, only the red pill, black pill Templars version of that. So it'll be like a religious warrior order type thing. It'll eventually evolve into that.
It makes sense. I guess it depends on the level of organization. There's so many factors. The level of like
Yeah, unfortunately,
organization, the level of
when it starts getting
oppression.
that big, there's going to be like the philosophy aspect of it. Then there's going to be the actual movement aspect of it if it gets that big, because the philosophy are going to be the people who are basically going their own way and don't believe in fighting, and it's going to be a faction that's under that group that's going to be the actual movement that's actually going to actually have to carry out the foot soldiers are the footwork for it, if you know what I mean. There'll still be the philosophy, and there'll be the philosophers, basically. There'll be equivalent to your like Aristotles and people like that.
The scribes as well.
Yeah, the scribes, Aristotles, the people like that for the most part, and your seers and people like that. Then you'll have the actual people who actually carry out the actual thing, like the Roman Legion or something like that, or like the Templars will actually carry out the actual deeds and conquest and what we need done, if you know what I mean. They'll pretty much, it won't be as big as that, but it'll probably be like the SEAL Team 6 version of that. Like small groups and small pockets of that basically carry out big missions under the cloak of darkness type thing.
Wow. I could also foresee really intelligent red pillars, and should push come to shove and men are forced to collectivize. I know it's kind of against our nature because we like to compete, but should men be forced to collectivize by some like sterilization program by governments worldwide, or like castration programs, etc., I think red-pilled men would be smart enough to get things like 3D printers, begin 3D printing guns, doing like CNC ops, getting like hackers and stuff.
Because you also got to take consideration.
Men are very resourceful.
Oh, we're very resourceful. You also got to take consideration too. A lot of the people in the manosphere are from various walks of life. So, like, you got people that are literally like living a hunter-gathering lifestyle. Okay, my family's a farm family. Okay, so we got that down packed. We pretty much perfected that. We don't have any GMOs in our shit. Our shit is all natural because we use the same seeds that we've been using since before the United States was the United States. And before like everybody got their hands on things to actually do anything. On top of that, like we have people who are in like technologies and that can build guns and like weaponry and cars and stuff like that. People who can actually rebuild infrastructures are in the manosphere. People who know technology, who can pretty much turn on some lights, make shit work, rebuild shit from scratch, are all in the manosphere.
Yes, that's true. And I find too,
we even have military men in the manosphere at that.
That's true. And that's actually that is a good point. There's so much to draw from, but there's also so many uncertainties. Well,
but the thing is, though, I see how I see that actually coming together. To answer your question, is if something like that was to happen, where men, when enough is enough for men, I believe they'll eventually put their foot down, look at each other and go, you know what? We may not like each other. We may hate each other's guts. We may not always get along with each other, but we have a common enemy right now. And we need to click up right now. We need to fuck some shit up.
And that is going to be the beast system. It is what it is. It is going to be the beast system. The Bible called it. I'm pretty sure the Vedic traditions have called it in the, the age of Kalima.
Yeah.
Or what's the other tradition that was very similar to that?
I think the Muslims even called it the Jews.
Ajal.
Jainism.
Jainism as well. Yeah.
There was another one that was like obscure. Yeah, but a lot of people actually called for it. Even the new religion of the devil worshippers actually call for it. Actually say this too, that eventually enough is enough and somebody's going to put their foot down. I've always talked about this a lot of times when it comes to men. Either we're going to go off the deep end or somebody's going to put their foot down.
No, it is in the Satanic Oath of the 1911 text, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion.
Called it.
It is in, it is in the Satanic text. It is in that.
Yeah.
The Satanic Oath. They acknowledge that.
Yeah, so like there's only but so much a man's willing to take. I mean, men are very patient and men are very tolerant and men are very stoic when it comes to this type of shit. So we're used to this shit. We can deal with this shit. The question is, how long before you reach our threshold before we actually start fighting back, or we go, oh fuck this shit, it's over, we're done, we're doing it this way now. And I always talked about this. There's going to be that one man that says, you know what? Everybody's on punishment now. We're doing this way now. Don't want to hear nothing. You're all on punishment. We're taking away all your toys and we're taking away all your stuff. You're on punishment until you earn it back. And I believe that there's going to be a man that eventually does that. Because let's just face it, women aren't going to fight for their rights back and they're not going to do anything. They're going to look for blue pill men to do it. And if there's a man in power, those blue pill men are going to have to pick between, do I want to eat tomorrow or do I want to side with this woman? And a good bit of them are pretty much going to be like, you know what? We're not really blue pill no more. We're going to step over to this side. You know what I mean? There's going to be some that's going to try to play both sides, but they'll be quickly squashed. But there's going to be some that's going to step over to the side that's going to see it benefits them to actually go with this side. Because men are smart like that for the most part. And if you get a group of men together would be smart, but they're stupid. But like, if they see a group of men go over here, they start losing hope and they'll just follow those men over there.
Yeah, but men without females can be very resourceful and creative.
Yeah, but even if you have a bunch of females there, like I said, let's just say, for instance, a good example that this hypothetical person decides, I'm going to take all the women's rights away. All of them are going to basically do is just stand there like, well, that's not right. That's not right. That's basically what they'll do. That's not right. And then look to the blue pill simps to basically fight for them. And if the blue pill simps are caught between a rock and a hard spot, and it doesn't benefit them to help, which is usually what's going to happen, they're going to pretty much walk over to the side of that guy because they benefit more from that guy.
Yeah.
There's going to be a small percentage of them that'll stay by the women because they're going to be simping so hard, like they are nowadays. But like, there's going to be a large group of them that's going to say, you know, maybe this blue pill thing wasn't all that great. See ya.
All right, I'm probably going to finish the interview there. I do want to ask the chat, do you guys have any questions for Tico Tren, our guest on the panel?
You can ask me any more questions. Shoot, I still got time.
I'm out of questions. I've pretty much asked all the ones that I wanted to ask.
Anyone got any questions for me? Anyone
got any questions?
Don't all speak at one time.
don't all rush to the door, or don't all rush at once. Oh, I'm just being a bit facetious, guys. I'm just being a bit facetious. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tico Tren, for the very interesting chat, and at times very deep.
Yeah.
deep and very introspective chat. It is a bit late here.
This is actually the first time I've ever been interviewed.
I've done
seriously interviewed like this mainly.
I've done about 12 of these interviews now, and then in the future I do want to interview Holly XO, Rose Blades, and refill my red pill journey. There is a question though. Somebody
has a question. Holy crap! That just popped out of nowhere.
Have you seen the Joker related to single mothers?
Yes. I have.
Joker with the single mothers. Oh, yes, yeah. It has.
Yes, I have. I was probably one of the first people on the line to see it, and I've seen it in Squirrel Hill. Matter of fact, I actually like the movie. I actually understand the movie, and I understand where the movie's coming from. That's a very lovely journey of a man going from just being like under the foot or under the thumb of people to being this great hero or anti-hero for the most part, to like the common man who's sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you know what I mean. I actually like that movie. I wasn't expecting, because I know one of the other MGTOW men were telling me, Freaky Jersey, he was like, I was actually expecting some action in the movie.
He's a good guy.
He was like, I was kind of disappointed because I was expecting some action in that movie. I go, Freaky Jersey. It's about the Joker. It's not going to have any action in it yet. He's still got to progress as a character. It's basically him progressing up to actually being the Joker for the most part. Maybe there's a fight in there, like movie 3 or 4, but the first 2 movies, I don't really see a fight with a Batman or anybody like that for the most part. Yeah, so like it was more or less meant to be a philosophical or feel-good movie for people who feel as though that they can't make it or can't do anything with their lives or can't really better themselves or just stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
That's how I've pretty much viewed the movie. I mean, granted, he's going to be a criminal eventually, yes, but it's a nice way to actually look at the world because once you actually think about Joker, he's actually not insane. He's actually super sane.
He's probably the most sane one of them all.
He's super sane because he literally views the world. Yeah, he literally views the world through the eyes of a black pill or a red pill man. He's like he's equivalent to like a It's kind of like how we see Deadpool, where he's always talking to the camera, talking to the audience. Joker's actually done that many times in his actual comic books and in the movie, or in the animated series where he actually talks to the crowd and stuff like that. So Joker's actually super sane, not super saiyan, super sane, sane, super sane. So like, how he views the world is different from everybody. How everybody else views the world. He doesn't really view the world as like everybody will say, "Well, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this." Joker will come in and be like, "Fuck that! You don't have to do that. You can do it this way." Because how he views consequences and how you view consequences is 2 totally different things. Or how he views how people do things and how people go about things is totally different. He's basically like the opposite of Batman. He believes in morality and he believes in this and he believes in this. Whereas Joker believes in good through chaos or accomplishing things through chaos.
All right. I'm going to stop it there. Thank you. I do need to go to bed. It is getting a bit late here. But thank you so much, Tico Tren, for your time and also for coming onto the panel.
Anytime.
This has been a great stream. I really enjoyed this stream, actually. Like me, and
I enjoyed it definitely. I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be worse than this. I was expecting like a hot seat type thing.
Oh no! I don't do that. I'm not that gifted at interviewing to do something like that. I've got my generic questions. Generic questions are given in advance, that way you can think about them, and they're there.
Yeah.
Anyone else also in the chat? I am happy to again organize interviews with you guys via email at menacemedia101@gmail.com. Likewise, you can hit me up in Discord, and I'm happy to set aside about 90 minutes to about 2 hours of my time for these kinds of interviews. And these interviews will be put in my book, The Red Pilled Mindset, to help explain the nuances of the red pill, the black pill, the purple pill, etc. And TFM would be awesome to have on the show. Oh man, TFM would be really good to have on the show. Hands down, I would love to have him, Human, all of the big guys as well. That'd be so good. Take care, everyone. Have a very, very good night, and I wish you all the best from Australia. And to those in the US, have a very good day, and I'll see you on latest live streams. Peace out.
See ya.